Hey, y'all. Welcome to another one of our Self-Esteem Mini Conversations. And today we have Brittany Broaddus-Smith, aka the Intimacy Firm, aka the #1 Christian sexologist. Your favorite Christian sexologist.
Okay.
Yeah, you knew I had to do it.
Yes.
And even though I gave you like this baby intro, could you introduce yourself to the people?
Absolutely. I am Brittany Broaddus-Smith, founder of the Intimacy Firm, where we bridge the gap between the science and scripture of human sexuality. I like to say we keep it real, raw, and righteous. As Dr. Donna said, I am the #1 Christian sexologist. If you don't believe me, Google me. And I love to have these type of conversations. I love working with Black women, particularly Black women who love the Lord, and help them figure out how they can love Jesus and sex.
And we be needing these conversations because though I may not be a practicing Christian, I don't even know what that really means. I'm still brought up in the culture of Christianity.
Mhm.
And I think that is true for so many people. And part of the reason for inviting you today is because I realized that, yeah, I wrote a book on self-esteem. However, there are multiple definitions to self-esteem. And I want people to be able to see that there's a beautiful depth and breadth of answers out there. And that it's not about who's right or wrong, but it is about trying to figure out where you are within everything.
Yeah.
So I want to start with just a simple question. How do you define self-esteem?
That's like the biggest question. Even though it's not simple. But I guess I would say self-esteem is the quality of a person's value in themselves, in their existence, and what they had to offer the world and what they had to offer others. And it depends on a number of factors, but you see it exhibited in how they show up in relationships, and more importantly, how they talk about themselves. So your self-esteem is how you regard you as it relates to worth, value, quality of humanity, and your place here in this thing we call the world.
Okay. Because the way you regard you, where it relates to worth, value, humanity, and your place here in the world. I mean, you said it was the biggest question, and meanwhile, this answer is giving. So then, how would you say that self-esteem develops, especially on a Christian walk?
Oh, yeah, because first and foremost, for Christians, self-esteem develops as you begin to align your beliefs with what God says about you. And I say that because a lot of the conflict that I've even experienced in my self-esteem is when I hear God saying, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. His thoughts for me outnumber the grains of sand. Nothing can separate me from his love. Like when you hear things like that, that person that is the subject or the object of those affections should be pretty important, should be pretty dope. And in order to have high self-esteem, or someone who has high self-esteem, is someone who sees themselves represented in all the things that God says about them, particularly because he's our creator, right? And so if you handmade me, if you knit me together in my mother's womb, and I believe that you are perfection, then I can't think that anything that comes from you is less than. However, we struggle to believe that, which is where I think that the self-esteem issues come in, but it develops as we go throughout life, and we are either affirmed or experience some sort of, rub, if you will, in the belief of those things and the way people talk to us and the way other people regard us. And if I feel I'm this, I'm that, I'm wonderful, but then somebody says I'm not, or someone's unkind to me, or someone compares me with other people, or I fail at a task or whatever, then it begins to kind of chip away at it as we go along.
Ooh, you done said something. Because I think part of what I got from what you said is that there is a community aspect to it. That it's
Absolutely.
not just what you say, it's what God has already said. And you believing what God said, you feeling what God said, and what you know, these things are aligned.
Mm-hmm.
Then still, there is a community component of
Absolutely.
what we say and how we say things to each other, and sort of like it's an exchange.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So then what would you say is the difference then between arrogance and confidence? Because people be like, oh, they overconfident, they're arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say is the difference?
The primary difference is whether what it is that you're speaking about is rooted in truth or not. A lot of arrogance comes with a bit of falsehood and overinflation. A lot of people who are arrogant think more highly of themselves than they ought, right? Because like, so again, we're keeping it from through scripture. And it's funny that you asked me this because I'm doing a study on First Corinthians right now where it says love is patient, love is kind, love is all these things. And if God is love, I figure let me study what love is so I can know who God is. And one of it says is a love does not boast. And so I was like, God be talking his talk all throughout scripture. So if love doesn't boast, where's the difference? And the primary difference is the fact that God is stating fact. When he says I am that I am,
And is.
he is okay. That's it. When Jesus says no man comes through the Father but through me,
And don't.
So then when we're out here being arrogant and braggadocious and those things, sometimes we are presenting a side of ourselves that only we've determined. We've not considered that community aspect. We've not considered how we make others feel. We've not considered our potential blind spots. And so that arrogance comes off and says that I am perfect. I am without flaw. And any issue that you have with anything that I am saying or doing is a you thing and not completely a me thing. And I don't even have to sit for a second and consider if I may be missing something because I'm already complete and lacking nothing as it relates to my sense of self.
Come on with it. Cause okay, so here's where you took me. You took me to a place where arrogance and that humble crap
Mm-hmm.
are both on the same plane, but
Mm-hmm.
one feels better to everybody else. So
Mm-hmm.
arrogance and humble are both things that are not rooted in truth,
Correct.
that are really just either a behavior to make other people feel bad or
Mm-hmm.
behavior to make other people feel better.
There we
Neither
go.
are actually true, which means if I say that I'm a really damn good therapist, it's not a brag, it's not arrogance, it's for real because, well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking like, baby, peep the word. Peep the
Okay,
word.
the
It's
receipts
rooted
speak for
in
themselves.
truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not only do you say that you're a darn good therapist, but it does not come with a you can't sit with me type of mindset that comes with the arrogance, nor is it with that equally as manipulative approach that some faux humility does is I want you to want to sit with me. So let me craft and curate this space or this presentation so that I'm so approachable. But then when people get in the space, I still am standoffish because the humility is not real. Like you don't have to lead with all of your attributes. And you also don't have to act like those attributes don't exist so that you can pull out affirmation from other people. As you said, arrogance and faux humility are both problematic and manipulative.
If you don't say the daggone thing.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's a thing I always associate with you. Like
Mhm.
I have my little vulva puppet. Every time I think if God made my clitoris, right? I think it every daggone time. And because you introduced me to that saying, if God made my clitoris,
Period.
right? So it made me sort of wonder between that space of the God madeness of it all and
Mhm.
self-esteem, and how can we achieve sort of like the authentic sexual self, and for
Mhm.
those who are rooted in a Christian practice,
Mhm.
how can they still do that? How can you be authentic and confident within your sexual self.
Yeah.
When I mean, low key, high key, right? Like I had this conversation with Dr. Amanda Nicholson, and I asked about like that space of the ways in which sometimes the church moves into building or destroying self-esteem, which, you know, like you ain't nothing without God. They want to strip you down. They want to shame you a little bit. So I guess I'm just like, well, if God made and God made me, I'm wondering, like, how can you be confident, authentic, and your sexual self within sort of this self-esteem and God-madeness space?
Yeah. So I think it's important to parcel out, I guess, the ones who know what they talk about and the ones who don't, right?
Ooh.
That's first and foremost. But even to that example that you gave, like you ain't nothing without God. The struggle, there could be a struggle to have that positive sense of self, that self-esteem with hearing you ain't nothing. But it also could be, in a different framing, a call to humility, and a healthy humility, and a ward against that dishonest arrogance, because you are wonderful as you are. You have achieved all that you have achieved. You are, the greatness that you see, but because of him. It doesn't have to be, it's a call to reverence at all points. And so that when you see me and you see the number one Christian sexologist, but for the grace of God, and I am at all points thankful for him, and I can move with pride and joy and excitement and confidence because of who my father is. Like, I don't even got time for what y'all got going on. Excuse me, I can't do what? I'm not who? You forgot who my daddy was. Honey, this is nepotism done the right way. Okay? Okay? And so when we think about the God-madeness of it all, for believers, let's go right back to the beginning, the Genesis, creation. When God saw all that he had made and said that it was very good, he sealed your worth at that moment. And the clitoris and pleasure and the functions of your body, while science may just now be discovering the things, it's not a new thing. Science was created to explain creation. So the clitoris, though they, and the G spot and all those things that, men started putting their name on, that may be new to you, but before the foundations of this earth, God saw it and said it was good. And so if you believe him to be sovereign, and you believe him to be a good God, and you believe that everything that he made was perfect, then everything that comes with you is the same. Now, we live in a fallen world, and some things can get a little bit out of whack, and we got to do some work to navigate how that is. But in its inherent state, your body and the way it functions and its capacities are good. Whether you are a believer who is single and believe that you should be abstaining and have sexual pleasure set aside, that doesn't make sexual pleasure not good just because you aren't participating in it just yet.
I know you
So,
yeah. I know you better come on. I mean, we go. Before I get too far off track, we are about to get into this rapid fire.
Okay.
So this rapid fire is yes, no. It's this, that. There is no fence. Do not sit on it.
I don't like this. I do things like this with people that I interview, and I don't like this. But go ahead. We ready. Let's go.
The receiving end.
Oh, I hate it. Let's go.
Okay. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Self-esteem is the same for everyone.
No.
Self-esteem is better built alone.
No.
Self-esteem plays a role in relationships.
Yes.
Jealousy means you have low self-esteem. You ain't said yes or no yet.
No.
Okay. It feel like you got an extra sentence that you want to add onto that one. No, what is it? What's the thought process?
Because it could be, but also there is there's a difference between jealousy and envy. So jealousy, no. If you would have asked envy, yes. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Felt. Someone else did the clarification between jealousy and envy, and I have stuck with jealousy mostly because we conflate the two.
Yes.
And I was just like, well, going with the definition that everybody already goes with, let's just go with that. But I see what you did there. For those of you watching, if you want to see the definition, that conversation of the definition between envy and jealousy, then that means you need to go hit one of the other ones. I believe it's with Dr. Amanda Nicholson, who said the same thing. I'm just like, okay. I see y'all. Can you leave the folk with one tip on building up a more secure self-esteem?
Yes. To build up a more secure self-esteem, I will leave you with start vertically, particularly for believers. Start vertically. Ask your Father what He says about you. Begin to consider where you fit and fall in that line. And then assess your community to see if the people in your space are affirming what God says about you or causing you to question it. If anybody in your life causes you to question what God says about you, that may be somebody you don't need in your life.
I know that's right. If you weren't listening properly, she said find community in God and then looking around you to see who says what He said. And if they ain't saying that, they might be haters and you might need to reevaluate. Toss them out into the street. Let them fend for themselves, at least until they can come at you correct.
May the Lord watch between me and thee.
Thank you so much for being here, for giving us this wisdom, giving us your thoughts. Where can the people find you if they want to learn more and just bask in the sunshiny glow of your presence?
Yes, I am at the Intimacy Firm on most things, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. I am at the Christian Sexologist on YouTube. My website is www.theintimacyfirm.com. And that is where you will find me doing all the things on one of those platforms.
We're going to make sure all of that information is up under this video.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming,
for having me.
That good word. Y'all already know what to do. Find the next video. There's going to be another one.